Jim and Alice, I was watching some clusterfuck matches tonight and ended up watching some stuff involving New Jack, formerly of ECW, Gypsy Joe, and that Green Kid, which made me think, who are the most notorious pro wrestlers in the minds of their peers? The ones that you don't fuck with, ones that peers don't trust, and the ones who may have this reputation, although for no good reason. Also, anyone inside the business who just really creeped you out or creeped anyone else out. And that's from Fred in San Jose.
Well, in the old days in the business, nobody was really scared of anybody else. In terms of them just going to go off and be a nut and push you off a scaffold or hit you with a taser or whatever. That didn't happen. But there were a lot of times where, guys that could shoot and were noted shooters and didn't like the finish would make the guy walk through hell with gasoline britches on to get to that finish, as they say. And, nobody wanted to get on the wrong side of Luthez, for heaven's sake. And Carl Gotch was not a bigger star in the business than what he was here in this country because he generally didn't want to put people over and nobody could make him. But you didn't have any real fucking nut jobs. Just, I've made up with New Jack. I'm not trying to call him a nut job, but you didn't have any people that the guys were just scared to get in the ring with. Although the Sheik, especially for underneath guys, the Sheik would have probably come the closest to any because he would zip you in a heartbeat with one of those blades he had on his fingers. So as far as who creeps people out, that's a subjective term because, hey, it might creep people out for somebody to do something, but the other guy wouldn't creep them out. But I always thought there, and this has been noted in locker rooms many times, I always wondered what was going on in the mind of Iron Mike Sharp, because a nicer, more polite guy you couldn't meet, but Mike would come to the fucking building at like 2:00 in the day, even if it wasn't a TV taping, and he would take a shower and then he'd run the stairs, and he was always working out and doing calisthenics. Then he'd take another shower, then he'd get dressed and go out and wrestle. Then he'd come back and take another shower, and then he'd go out and run the stairs again. As a matter of fact, sometimes he would even get locked in to buildings when they closed up because they didn't know he was still down there in the shower. He would take like 5-6 showers. He would do endless hours of calisthenics besides having his match. And I always just wondered, what was going on there. Another guy, Roger Smith, who later on worked as Dirty Rhodes and was one of the assassins in Tennessee with Donnie Bass for many years. Roger Smith one time was working for Nick Goulas and got upset. I don't remember what the altercation was, whether it was a payoff or just general demeanor, but Roger burned a cross on Nick's front lawn.
And, Jesus Christ.
And then later on, when he lived in Nashville, he was involved in a SWAT team showdown when I believe he took his wife, possibly ex-wife, hostage in a house, and the SWAT team had to get him out. And then I managed him and Donnie in Memphis in my rookie year, and I was driving, and he was riding with me because he needed to ride to a spot show in way far West Tennessee one time, going through the middle of cornfields on this 2-lane road. And Roger, he just looked up and he said, sometimes I feel like just killing myself and taking all of my friends with me. And I said, Roger, I hate to tell you this, but I never have thought much of you. and he laughed and didn't kill me.
Well,
and,
that's good news.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean,
I'm not doing this show with a ghost. That's good.
Hey, I'll tell you what, here's the thing. If in the wrestling business, traditionally, now everybody's a whip puppy that's walking on eggshells and scared to be an individual because they're scared they'll get fired, and they probably would. But in the real days of pro wrestling, everybody up and down the card had their own story and their own little quirks and picadillos. And if you were skeeved out easily, it was not a business for you to be in.
Well, all right.
That's all I have to say about that.
I like it.
Sound like Fort Stump.
I guess the question I have is, were there just people where they didn't really do anything in particular? You just felt that they just weren't quite right, as they might say in the South? Just not quite right.
Pretty much everybody on the card.
So essentially that's a prerequisite for being in the wrestling business.
I mean, you go from the guys would walk in and see Don Fargo, who was one of the first guys with a pierced dick, but new guys in the territory would walk in and see Don Fargo with a 10-penny nail and a ball peen hammer nailing his dick to the wooden bench, and nobody'd even be looking. except for the new guy. And you'd get acclimated pretty quick. There was a bunch of different personalities in this business. That's what I liked about it. It wasn't a bunch of fucking yahoos that just go sit in an office and are scared to say boo to a goose, as my old friend Adrian Street would say. And just, it was a bunch of wild, colorful, unique personalities. And unfortunately now, being a wild, colorful, and unique personality probably will prohibit you from getting a job in professional wrestling.
And unless that's the gimmick that you have been issued.
Well, but if they issue that gimmick to you, unfortunately, they're going to issue it to a guy that's probably the most Casper Milquetoast motherfucker in real life that could be imagined, and he won't be able to get it over.